Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another session of Deen and Chai. So today we're going to be looking at Surah Al-Falaq. Now Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas, which we did last time, both follow the same theme about protection from evil. And they both resemble each other so much so that they have a common name, which is Al-Mu'awwidhatayn, the two that protect or guard. So let's take a look at the first ayah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق.
Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of the Falaq. Now the ayah could have said, seek refuge in the Lord of the Falaq, but instead it said, say, I seek refuge. So it's important to announce it, to declare it, refuge in the Lord of the Falaq. Falaq in Arabic means to rip open or to break open. Now, there is a difference in opinion as to what it means in this context in the verse. If we think of creation in general, creation stems from something breaking through something. For example, rain breaks through the clouds, a baby breaks through the womb, plants break through the soil. So creation in its many forms is something breaking through something. So this word could signify all of creation in its many forms. However, the majority opinion is that this word signifies the morning or the break of dawn. So when the morning light breaks through the darkness. Now, what is the significance of this time of day, the daybreak? It's actually very fitting for the theme of this surah. Now, the imagery that daybreak gives us, the morning breaking through the darkness, God tells us that He's the one that extracts people from darkness or deviation into light and guidance. So if we just turn to Him, can be extracted from darkness into light and guidance. And so this is a reminder to us. Therefore, Allah tells us to turn to the Lord of daybreak, that is Allah Himself. You're probably wondering, what is it that we are seeking refuge from? So let's take a look at the next ayah.
من شر ما خلق.
From the evil of that which He created. Now, this is pretty straightforward. Allah created everything. Now within that, there is evil. So we are seeking refuge and protection from that evil which He has created, whether it is hell later on, whether it is people nowadays, or any harm whatsoever that could fall upon us, we are seeking protection from that.
ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب.
And from the evil of darkness when it settles. Now, when the night comes down, it basically blankets everything in darkness. Nowadays, we might not really notice the difference because of all the artificial lighting we have, but if you were to go out camping in the middle of the desert or in wilderness or in the middle of a forest, you were probably going to feel more fearful at night. As humans, instinctively, we feel that fear when it's dark. If you were in the same place when it's daytime, you're probably going to feel much safer. So we here are asking refuge and protection from that evil that lies in darkness that we are fearful from.
ومن شر النفاثات في العقد.
And from the evil of the blowers in knots. Now this is a reference to witchcraft, but it's a very graphic image. It doesn't just say witchcraft or sorcery. It gives us imagery of people blowing into knots or on knots. Now let's take a pause and talk about what Islam says about magic. So Islam the Quran references magic in several places. For example, the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam, when certain people accused him of doing magic, we find in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102, Allah's response to this. And I'll take a portion of the verse that says, وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. And the verse goes on. So it is not Sulaiman who disbelieved, but the shayateen disbelieved. They are teaching people magic. So here we learn two things. One, that the Quran is referencing magic in the sense that it does exist. And two, it calls it a disbelief. So magic is something we are not supposed to toy around with. Now this is not talking about the magic and the illusions that we see nowadays, like simple card tricks or pulling a rabbit out of a hat or that kind of magic. No, this is talking about casting spells and sorcery and the intense kind of magic that impacts someone else. are we talking here specifically about the blowers and the knots? Now, there are multiple hadith that are considered authentic about a time when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a victim of sorcery. So what is the story? The story is that in the 7th year of Hijrah, there used to be a young man or young lad who would visit and help the Prophet. Now, one of the enemies of the Prophet convinced this boy to take some of the Prophet's items. So he took a comb and the Prophet's hair and gave it to someone called Labid ibn Ahsam, who was considered a hypocrite at the time. And what this man did is perform magic and cast a spell using the Prophet's comb and hair. And he tied some knots and then put this item under a rock in a well. Now what ended up happening is that the Prophet started feeling physical pain, and this started intensifying over a period of 6 months. And what happened is, one day he woke up, he had a dream and he woke up, and Aisha radiallahu anha narrates this to us and says that he said, Allah has answered me that of which I asked him. Aftani fima istaftaytahu. And so she asked, what do you mean, what are you talking about? And so he said that he was dreaming and 2 angels came down and they had a conversation with each other about him. One of them asked the other, what is wrong with him? The other responded, a spell has been cast on him. The other said, by who? The angel responded, by Labid ibn Ahsam. How? And then they proceeded to inform each other of the location and the place of where this spell was cast and this item was hidden. And so the Prophet was able to retrieve this item and go to that location of the well under the rock and be able to retrieve this item. And what they found was his comb and hair tied into 11 knots. Now, what the Prophet did then is recite Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas together. These 2 surahs together are 11 verses. So he would untie 1 knot and recite 1 verse, untie the 2nd knot and recite the 2nd verse, until he got to the 11th knot and the 11th verse. And once that was untied, he felt a huge sense of relief. You're probably thinking, how could this happen to the Prophet? Can't God just protect him? He's a prophet. Why is this happening to him? Yes, good point. Now, the Prophet is still a human being, and so he feels hunger, feels thirst, feels pain, gets sick. At one point was poisoned. In this point, he had a spell cast on him. He was still inflicted with various things. If he was completely protected and not inflicted with anything, we wouldn't be able to learn valuable lessons of his character, of his dealings in situations, of how he would respond in certain situations. And so, for example, in this situation, let's take a look at how he responded. What did he do to the boy? What did he do to Labid ibn Ahsam, the one who cast the spell on him? How did he respond? The answer is, he did absolutely nothing. He didn't get back at them, he didn't get angry at them, he didn't approach them, he didn't do anything. That was his response. He just continued being the kind, gracious person he was. So here we learn a valuable lesson. If someone harms us in any way, we learn how we should be responding. We shouldn't respond in the same way. We shouldn't react angrily. We shouldn't get back at them. We shouldn't try to get revenge. So it's a valuable lesson we are learning here. So that is what these situations teach us, and the benefit of these situations. Now let's move on to the final ayah.
وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدَ.
From the evil of the envier when he envies. Now envy is what? Envy is basically when you want what someone else has and you want them to lose it. So it bothers you that they have it. It annoys you that they have it. You want it and you don't want them to have it. For example, if someone is, say, more popular than you want to be popular and you don't want them to be popular, or they're richer than you want it, or they get better grades than you in school, or whatever it is, something that you feel bothers you and you want it and you don't want that person to have it. Now this is something we have to be very cautious of. And so the ayah refers to it as the evil of the envier when he envies. So we are seeking protection from the envier when he takes action upon that envy. Now, how can someone take action upon it? For example, if someone is envious that someone else is popular, maybe they start spreading rumors and lies and try to tarnish their reputation to get them to be less popular. So this is an example of how someone can act on that envy. So here we are asking for protection from the evil of the envier when he or she acts upon this envy. And this same envy is what can lead to sorcery and magic that we just talked about. So it's very important. And it's something we have to be very, very cautious and aware of, because there is a hadith that says, beware of envy, because envy consumes good deeds the way fire consumes dry wood or grass. So the same way fire quickly consumes dry wood or grass, that is how quickly envy can consume our good deeds. So it's something we should really be careful of and be aware of and stray away from. And that is how the surah concludes. So inshallah, I hope that you were able to get a deeper understanding of Surah Al-Falaq, inshallah. And until next time, thank you.